Looking back, one of the most difficult times for my eCom brand was that 6-figure range, anywhere from like call it 75,000 a month, maybe 50,000 a month, up to like 200, 250 a month. I was stuck there for so long. And so in this video, I simply wanted to go through the 3 biggest problems 6-figure brand owners face that's holding them back from 7 figures. Now, these are the 3 that I've gone through myself. These are the 3 that I see most of the people who come work with me one-on-one that they go through themselves. That's the biggest challenge to get to the 7-figure per month. And it's probably a lot of things that you haven't really heard many people talk about online because it's always just focused on ads and marketing. But this is really focused on how you could actually turn a 6-figure drop shipping store or, store that you have, and how you actually transition that to consistent 7-figure a month brand that can actually last for years, right? Because that's very different than scaling up and then hitting 6-figure months or 7-figure months and then going right back down, which is what happens to most people. With that being said, my brand now, we're on year 4 or 5 of my brand, right? And as you can see, last 7 days, we're doing about 657,000. Last 14, 1.13. Last 30, 2.16. I'll refresh just to show you. And once again, this isn't to flex. This is just to show you that I was there. I was stuck for like 2.5-ish, maybe 3 years in that 6-figure range until I cracked a few things and I very quickly scaled out to 7-figure months and beyond and actually having it be consistent. Okay. And so the first thing is simply team building and hiring, which sounds more difficult than it really is. Now, what you need to understand is at this stage, if you're doing 50K-ish, I'd probably say closer to 75K, 100K per month plus, 90% of your time is probably on making ads, right? As it should be. The issue is, as you continue to scale into 6-figure months, to get to 7-figure months and to do it consistently, right? Lots of the big wins you need are simply outside of the ad account, right? When I realized this, I actually started putting time and focus into hiring and building out a team to continue the marketing side for me, because we had a process that was working because we were doing 6-figure months, right? And actually put my time back into these higher level tasks and levers that will actually make us take a big leap forward. And that's exactly what happened. Because if you're just focused on ads, you have to realize at some point, if you're doing 6-figure, multi-6-figure months, your ads are pretty decent, right? And lots of the time when that's the case, for you to scale to the next level, those wins are outside of the ad account. Okay. And so you now to some degree, once again, have found the marketing that works for doing 100K plus per month. And so now you need people and a process to continue doing that to the same degree that you currently are, because you don't want the quality to fall off, your ad hit rate to drop to where you don't have enough new winning ads to actually keep that consistent. But you need that in place while you spend more of your time on expanding, improving the business model, new products, markets, etc. Now, this is what most eCom gurus, if you want to call it that, fail to actually talk about on YouTube or online. Is it's always focused on picking a product or running ads and scaling ads and blah, blah, blah. But that's just one lever to grow the business, right? LTV, improving the business model, AOV, expanding markets, launching new products, having a product flywheel in place, hiring and team building are all as important. And I would argue actually more important once you're doing 6 figures or multi-6 figures per month to get to 7 figures per month. Okay, I would argue for most businesses that ends up being the case. The only caveat I would say is if you have a really good consumable front end with a super high subscription take rate, you can just continue focusing on marketing. You're going to scale that thing massively, but this will still become one of the more important things you need to focus on outside of ads. It'll just happen at a higher scale for you. Okay, but regardless, you want this sooner rather than later anyways, because when you get good at marketing, right, and you get to 6 figures, multi-6 figures per month, you know the messaging that works, you know the angles that work, and you just need someone to replicate that, to buy back your time now, to go focus on these higher level tasks that will actually take a big leap in your business, which once again, typically ends up being team building and hiring. That's the first step and why I put it number 1, because you need that in place to go work on these other things. If you don't have that in place, when you step away from marketing and you're the one producing all the winning ads, that's going to jump off a cliff and obviously you're going to scale down. And what most people try to do is they try making that jump too fast or too early to where that does fall off. Now their business is dropping, and now they get into this mindset like, oh, only I can make these winning ads, only I can make winning ads, which simply is not the case. And if you actually did this and had more time to improve your business model and these types of metrics, what you'll find actually ends up happening is your ads don't have to be as good because your business model is just really good. And so you're able to scale at a much lower target on Facebook or your main marketing channel. And if you have to only run your ads at a 1 ROAS or 1.2 or 1.3, your ads don't have to be anything crazy, right? A 1.3 is not too difficult to hit. The hard part is getting your business model, your repeat rate, your team in a place where you can actually go ahead and do that. So just keep in mind, some of the biggest growth levers you can have, at least I've had, and some of my clients have had, is expanding product lines, expanding the market, launching new products, product development, building a moat, etc. But I wouldn't have time to do all these things if I didn't actually start building a team and have a good hiring process in place. Okay, so that's point number one. Now, point number two that will absolutely help you go from 6-figure months to 7-figure months is improving the back end of your business, right? I kind of touched on it in point one a bit, but at this stage, if you don't have this in place yet, you don't really have a business, right? For the majority of you watching, you live and die by your Facebook performance. Facebook is bad for a day, your profit and ROAS drops massively. Facebook's good for a day, you're all happy and you're scaling. Then on a Monday comes around, it's bad again, and you're all depressed because you made no money or you lost money. If you have that, you're on an emotional roller coaster, and two, you're never going to have the consistency that you want. The consistency comes from other revenue sources that generate more profit than Facebook, that allow you to spend more on Facebook and not really care too much about Facebook performance. You just need to stay within your target and guardrails, which shouldn't be too difficult to hit because they're much lower targets. That's how you actually get the consistency, and that happens by improving out your backend. Okay? And what you need to realize is that Facebook isn't the profit center or shouldn't be the profit center for your business. Facebook, what it's really good at is acquiring you a ton of new customers. Not necessarily to do that in the most efficient manner, but if you have a business model that can support it, you get thousands and thousands and thousands of new customers into your business per month and still profit what you want to profit with consistency because you have the backend set up, because you have these other profit centers that isn't Facebook. Once again, Facebook is good at acquiring customers. Facebook should not be the way you make your profit in your business. And once you make that switch, which once again takes time, I'm not saying it's easy, easier said than done, but when you make that switch, and Facebook's sole focus now, it becomes on just acquiring new customers and filling up the funnel for your other more profitable channels. All of a sudden, you profit more, you're way more consistent, and you scale a lot further. Okay? So you now need to increase your repeat rate, right? Your repeat purchase rate, improve your retention on your subscription program if you have one, expand your product line, channels, etc. Right? Doing all these things will give you more, call it tools in your arsenal to give customers another reason to come back, right? And give you more tools in your arsenal to promote in other markets, to promote on other channels, and just build out your actual ecosystem, right? The difference between like Nike, that's a brand, is they have a ton of products, right? If Nike just sold one pair of shoes, you know, they wouldn't be where they are. They're missing on so much revenue. I can tell you from our business, like we have a lot of different SKUs now at this point, and they make up a ton of our monthly revenue. And you would never know looking on the front end because all the ads go to the same product. But we have all these products for the back end, for upsells, for post-purchase upsells, for email flows, bundles, all these types of things that make up a ton of revenue. Without that, we wouldn't be at like half the scale that we're at. Okay, and that happens over time by building that out, but that's what you need to get to, right? And then by doing that, you move towards your profit being generated by the back end. Because once you accomplish this, once again, you can now lower your front end targets, you get consistency. Facebook's job is now on just acquiring a ton of customers and filling up the funnel for your other channels. And what I mean by that is when you fix this, when you get this in place, you spend more on Facebook, your Google does better, your email does better, your SMS does better, your Amazon does better, your organic does better, your direct does better. Like all these other channels improve because of it. And so you can continuously lower and lower your target on Facebook, which Facebook loves because you're spending even more. And you're just acquiring more and more customers. When you have this business model in place, it's like a flywheel of just infinite money glitch, if you want to call it that, because every new customer that comes in, you know your numbers, you have your business model dialed, you know over 30, 60, 90 days, they're going to make X amount of profit. And now you're just kind of playing investment banker on your levels of spend on Facebook and other channels to optimize for the most profit, right? But you don't get to that point, and you can't do that if you live and die by your Facebook performance, which is why you need to once again improve the back end of your business. So hopefully this actually makes sense, because once I figured this out, it changed everything. And I'm just trying to do my best to explain it to you in a way that you can really comprehend, because I was told this many times when I was starting my business from other people, but I didn't really fully grasp it or get it. So I never put focus to it. So I'm hoping you can actually grasp this concept to realize how important it is, because this is really the core solution to getting that consistent growth month over month. And once again, to be able to do this, you need to do that to be able to have time to work on number 2, right? Which is this one. Okay. And so understand that when you spend more, your cost per purchase will always rise. That's how the algorithm works. Now you combat this the best you can with ad testing, but it will rise nonetheless, right? So now the focus that you need to be focusing on is how can I afford a higher CPA, right? On Facebook or whatever channel you're running ads on. How can you do that? If you solve for that and you can make that happen, your decent ads will now scale you because you don't need a 2.2, a 2.4. You know how many clients come to me at 100K, 50K, 200K per month who get great results? And the big issue that we just need to fix right off the gate is their target ROAS is a 2.2. I'm like, obviously you're not going to double your business or scale where you're at if you need a 2.2 on Facebook. If we can get that down to a 1.6, 1.8, you pretty much instantly double your ad spend, if not more than that, right? Because when you scale up, your CPA oftentimes doesn't increase just as fast, depending on how good your ads are, et cetera. But that's the main core constraint that you need to follow. And with most businesses that come in, more often than not, this is something that we focus on more than anything, which is the team building and then improving the back end, right? Because it's just that important of a core constraint. Okay. And either to solve this, it's either you need to increase your repeat purchase rate through product launches, and you need offers to give your customers a reason to come back. And ideally both, you have subscription programs in place. That way, every person that comes in on the front end, you have that retention metrics and you know X% are staying month 1, 2, 3, et cetera, and what the LTV of that is, et cetera. But that's a deeper topic for another video. But the point is that needs to be the focus, and solving that needs to be the core focus if you're in the stage. Now, this is where your time and focus needs to go. And last but not least, is dropshipper to brand ownership. And this is kind of really tying it all together. But how do you actually take action on the first two effectively, right? To do those first 2 points effectively, you need to think longer term like a proper brand owner, right? You need to make the switch from thinking, how do I make more money in the next 30 days to how do I double this business in the next 12 months, which isn't even really that long term of a vision. But lots of you guys are literally just thinking next week, next 30 days, today's performance. And you need to switch from that because that then changes your decision-making lens and forces you to make better decisions. Okay. And when you make decisions for the long term, you simply end up scaling faster, right? If you're making decisions on how do I double the business over 12 months, or how do I 3x the business over 12 months, or 10x the business over 12 months, but point is a longer time horizon versus looking at what was the performance today? What was the performance yesterday? What's the performance the next 3 days? This next week, right? You end up making better decisions that actually solve the core constraints in your business. And when you do that, even though you are thinking further out in the future and longer term, it's almost backwards, but you end up scaling and making a whole lot more money faster than you do when thinking a week, 2 weeks out, right? I promise you, because I was stuck in that for literally 3-4 years when I was first starting dropshipping. And when I first started this brand and when I made the switch and turned into a real brand, that's when the long-term scale happened. And that's when the consistency actually started to happen because I was actually building for the long term, and you solve core problems in your business when you do think like that. And that leads to the massive scale and consistency. Okay. And so understand though, to make this shift, you need to develop new skills that you don't currently have, right? Because if you did have them, you'd already be at 7 figures per month, right? And if you're watching this and you're not, it's because you don't have those skills in place, right? And if you are at 7 figures per month, why aren't you at 2, 3, 4 million a month? It's because you don't have those skills in place yet. Like I understand that we're going to do 20 million this year. If I want to get to 40, 50 million next year, there's things and constraints in my business and the skills that I don't have that we haven't solved for yet. Because if we did, we would be there. Okay. And so these skills are along the lines of hiring, management, retention, understanding constraints and where the focus needs to be, etc. Right? Project management, a good hiring process, operations, cash flow, like the list goes on and on and on and on, right? But to develop these skills is hard, I would say. At least it was for me, since no one online really talks about it, right? It's boring. Like I made one video about cash flow a long time ago. It's been like 8 months, has like 800 views, right? It's boring and it doesn't get views. So you learn by diving head first. And the point is, once again, to make that shift from 6-figure months to 7-figure months, you need to start thinking like a brand owner, which just means thinking long term, which will improve your decision-making lens, which will allow you to actually spend the time you need to do these two things better. But understand it's not going to be easy. It's going to be a challenge to go through the team building and hiring, etc. Right? Improving the back. If you haven't done it before, it's a skill set you need to develop. But by developing the skill set, once again, you actually make the shift from what I'm going to make the next 30 days to actually building a business that can scale consistently for 3, 4, 5, 6 years and beyond. And more importantly, even actually build for an exit, right? If you can't think long term and build out what you need to build out and get the skill set, you're not going to exit, right? Or you will, but super low multiple on your like 1-year-old dropshipping store. It inherently has no value. If you want to have a big exit in the future, you need to make that shift. And lots of that comes from, once again, putting these things in place. So hopefully this was useful. If you want help with this stuff, check out the link in the description. Outside of that, this is more so a very boring topic of a video, like in team building and hiring. But once again, I made this because these 3 things I see time and time again. And it's really the core constraints of most brands, 100K, 200K, 300K plus per month that can get to 7 figures. And when I solve these 3 things specifically, in this order, more or less, I scaled massively. So hope you enjoyed it. Hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.